Ladies and germs, it's showtime!
When I was 15 years old, 65 years ago, I entered this contest that Blockbuster was having to win a free movie rental every day for a year. I was a pretty savvy kid, so I assumed that if I entered a contest hosted by a rapidly failing company in the early days of Netflix, I'd probably have a decent chance at winning. And I did.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh shit! Horace! Horace! Yes! Yes! Horace!
I won.
Guess you won't be needing those tapes I made for you. You want me to get rid of them? Don't be hasty.
But here's the thing. My local Blockbuster stayed open for another 3 years. And because of some strange oversight, after 365 days of renting a movie every day, I was actually able to rent a movie on the 366th day.
Turn of the bend!
Strange, I thought. How long will this last? Surely they won't outright forget to put a limit on the little card they gave me that allowed me a free rental every single day. They did!
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my god.
Look, Mr.
Battle pass. I just shit out my ass.
So for 3 years, every day, without fail, I was able to rent one free movie, and I was sitting very pretty. I saw every movie that ever existed. I dove through the horror section and gained a sickening amount of knowledge of every DVD the store had. I saw everything. Then at about 2 years into my legendary speedrun of all visual entertainment, I first watched House of a Thousand Corpses. 15-year-old me was admittedly amazed. I couldn't believe my eyes or ears. It simultaneously made no sense and too much sense. Given that I'd sat through just about every cult movie I could by this age, mysteriously evading my parents ever knowing the horrors I was exposing myself to, I understood certain things about Rob Zombie's directorial debut that only seasoned horror enjoyers would know. I got every imaginable reference. By this point, I'd already seen Rocky Horror and had snuck in undetected into live performances at midnight screenings. I'd seen every Tobe Hooper film, including The Funhouse. I even saw The Mangler, which is the best film I've ever seen. I'd worshipped at the altar of Texas Chainsaw Massacre too, and proclaimed it as a religious experience. House of a Thousand Corpses is a lot like Spider Baby, I thought. Should a film be like Spider Baby? I'll let you decide, but I'd probably vote no. So watching House of a Thousand Corpses so early in life, I felt like it was clearly a pile of references to things I'd loved but somehow mashed themselves together into some unholy nightmare. Imagine the movie Society, but with a bunch of movies I liked.
I am a butthead.
If Repo the Genetic Opera is the cringe response to the same reference material, this was somehow the enlightened response. Matter of fact, throw up on the screen the Virgin Repo the Genetic Opera versus the Chad House of a Thousand Corpses. We'll fill that in with something glorious. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of cringe in House of a Thousand Corpses, but it isn't Repo, and thank God for that.
I'm the doctor, and I'm your father.
That's a story for another day, I suppose. Anyways, House of a Thousand Corpses has just seen a 20-year theatrical anniversary, so I went to the theater to watch it many, many years after I saw it initially. While I may have rented the DVD from Blockbuster a few dozen times and have met the cast, most of whom are now dead, met Sid Haig in an elevator, and have attended fan screenings all throughout my 20s when I was still somehow able to trick people into giving me press passes. Seeing the film now is a very different experience. It's a polarizing film in that half the people that watch will most certainly think that it's the most annoying film they've ever seen. They're right, by the way. It is that. But the other half of people may walk away feeling like they've seen something so beyond what anyone else is doing in horror now, or even in the last 20 years, that it's kind of great in a way. What I'm saying is right now there's an Exorcist reboot playing in the theater next door to the one I watched this in, and that couldn't possibly be funnier. Whatever the opposite of Hereditary is, it's this movie. House of a Thousand Corpses is less of a competent movie and more of a thrill ride. How does one criticize a roller coaster? Sure, the narrative arcs are muddled and don't work so well, but it's hard to notice all that when it's going 120 miles per hour and you're you're holding on for dear life. It's a movie that makes you raise your eyebrows in surprise / confusion / disdain so much that your eyes get stuck like that for days at a time. The dialogue in and of itself will make you cringe yourself back into your theater chair.
Don't even start with my bear shit. You're only a dog. I was bitten by a cocker spaniel when I was 8 years old.
Until you're trapped there forever. If someone told me a film critic died while watching this film, I would believe them. On the other hand, it's a film chock full of horror regulars that you might find lurking at horror conventions instead of doing anything with their current resume, likely because they've only been in cult movies. This is corroborated by how many of these people I've run into in these exact settings. They're all given so much to do and are used to their fullest. Bill Moseley is doing a very 2000 ELO Mensa version of Chop Top here. Karen Black is the scariest woman alive, which is weird because she's dead, which is no doubt why Death Grips loved her. Captain Spaulding is the best character in the movie, mostly because he's always wearing the best t-shirt I've ever seen in my whole life. The rest of the cast includes people like Tom Towles, Rainn Wilson, and Chris Hardwick. What? Matthew Gregory, who single-handedly makes me never want to eat cereal again. I could go on forever. Everyone's great. We also have a certified Goggins watch here. We have Walter Goggins. This is wonderful news. The way I would describe this movie to people who haven't seen it is that this movie is a doer. The movie makes a promise, and in the next scene, it pays it off. Oh shit, there's a murder ride.
There is actually a murder ride.
A murder ride? I don't want to go on a murder ride.
Yes, you do want to go on a murder ride.
No, I don't.
Hey, how about if we skip the murder ride?
Hey, how about if we go?
Hard cut to being on the murder ride. Everyone in the theater has the thought, damn, I want to go on a murder ride. Then the rest of the movie is the murder ride. Sick. Dr. Satan sure sounds dope. I hope we get to see him. You do. Captain Spaulding is the best character. I hope he comes back. He does. It's Halloween. I sure hope they play it up. They do. There's an entire floor show. It's whatever you imagine from the sentence, a movie that blends Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and Rocky Horror Picture Show. Exactly that. The movie's plot is kind of difficult to really pin down because it changes every few seconds, but it's kind of the regular Texas Chainsaw plot structure. Kids on a road trip get advice from a guy to go into the deep country looking for something only to find a house filled with murderous rednecks. But weirder even yet is that the villains are very fleshed out while the other characters really aren't. Then the movie pivots hard into being about the murderous redneck family. Like they're the main characters, complete with some lore. Vati! Then the film pivots again when it seems they're doing a ritual to send people down to Dr. Satan to get operated on in his underground lair, where he kinda does. Then we get a final girl moment. She fights back, escapes, and then gets sent right back in to get operated on. All roads lead to Dr. Satan, just like in real life. I think that about sums it up, but it sure is hard to really deduce how this movie is doing it. It's not necessarily the what, but the how and the why that is impossible to explain if you aren't Rob Zombie. So where I land on it is that it's sick. It's not a great movie. It might not even be a good movie. It might even be a bad. I haven't even mentioned how Sherry Moon Zombie's laugh might be the single thing that gives me a stroke one day. But nevertheless, it delivers, and does so in a completely unsubtle way. It blunders the final girl trope by making us utterly confused as to who dies, when, and what character we're even looking at, and why. But we don't even care. It does a fake out where it makes you think the four leads are the main characters, then diverts full force into being about the Firefly family. Clearly Rob Zombie considered making a normal movie at a point, and then discovered that the murder family angle was way more fun and just rolled with that. Things don't make any sense from shot to shot. Well, just cut in some weird bullshit about God in the desert. Or the skunk ape. Who cares? Why does RJ fix the car for the kids if he knew that Otis and Tiny were going to kidnap them and toss the car anyways? That don't make any sense. Never mind, we're already past it. It's over. Stop living in the past. We have to watch a scene where Otis and Grandpa watch the monsters.
Don't start with me, Hugo.
It's the Dragula episode because Rob Zombie, you get it, because anyways, fuck it. Rob Zombie made a weird and flawed, even bad movie, and it does more in an hour and a half than most movies can even accomplish in 3. In a world where the concept of horror movie is somehow almost synonymous with boring these days, this movie is a godsend. It's tailor-made to give you strong feelings about it. I would hardly call any modernish horror film as close to a cult movie as this, except for Repo, but we've already been over that.
And I'm your father.
It sets out to accomplish a goal, and it achieves it. Even if it's not a great movie, I wish every horror movie were like this movie. I think we would all have a lot more fun this Halloween. We would just sit in the fucking seat and squirm like we're meant to. And thank God! Okay, so I'll admit I haven't been working on hella videos lately. I took a long break to reevaluate my purpose and get my life in order. And while I was gone, Patreon took a weird shit, and a lot of people got their pledges outright deleted by Patreon. So if you support me on Patreon or would like to, please check on your pledge to make sure it's still there. Also, Patreon is how I make all the money I need to survive, which is always getting more expensive. So please consider giving me $1 on Patreon and supporting all the things that I do. Give this video a like and share it with your, weird, creepy, disgusting friends. Speaking of things I do, I have written 2 books now. Number 1, Fluids, and number 2, Girl Flesh, both about lesbians in dire situations. I just signed to Hear Us Scream Publishing, and I am planning to reissue both books with new covers and release my new book, currently titled Neve Fires Her Gun, through them very soon. However, this brings up a funky little fun thing. My old editions of the books are about to become an out-of-print rarity. There's only going to be a few more in print before the changeover, so I've decided to release 100 copies of each, also signed, on my Bandcamp right now at time of posting. You can pick one up if you reside in the United States, as overseas shipping is a pain and difficult, and a lot of people don't end up getting their books and then they get mad at me. But for those overseas, you can pick up an unsigned one that I can have printed in your home country and shipped to you. It's a whole rigmarole. All the information for that is in the description. Thank you so much for supporting my work. I'm slowly writing my whole thing, but it takes a while to get established. I'm trying to do more reviews. I'm going to try to do more YouTube content in this sort of more bite-sized, fun way. Not just with new stuff, but I'm going to try to do, some retrospectives too. Just stuff that I'm interested in or whatever. And also Halloween's coming. You got to have some spooky content for Halloween, Thank you all for watching. I've been May, and I will see you next time.